Title: Soul Land Chapter 1. The awakening of the Lotus. The sun had barely risen over the misty peaks of Mistwood Valley, yet the training grounds of the Yun clan estate were already alive with movement. Blades sliced through air, fists cracked against wooden dummies, and spiritual energy danced like invisible lightning among the eager disciples. But in one secluded courtyard at the far edge of the estate, a different kind of energy stirred. Jian Yun knelt alone, hands pressed together in meditation. At 15, he had yet to awaken his martial soul, an anomaly that had marked him as cursed in the eyes of others. Yet he remained calm, even serene. Today was the day. The awakening ceremony had come. Elder Mu, the clan's sole elder, and the only one who had ever shown kindness to Jian Yun, approached with a quiet grace. His white robes trailed like clouds, and his eyes shimmered with wisdom. "Are you ready, child?" Jian Yun opened his eyes, calm. But beneath the surface, anticipation crackled like fire. "Yes, elder." They walked to the central altar, where incense curled into the sky and soul stones flickered with energy. Jian Yun stepped into the circle of sigils. Elder Mu raised his staff. "Let the heavens bear witness. Let the soul answer. By ancient right, awaken your destiny." The ground trembled. Sigils flared. Energy swirled around Jian Yun like a vortex. The disciples gasped. This was no ordinary awakening. A burst of radiant light erupted, and from Jian Yun's chest bloomed a lotus leaf petaled, silver and violet, pulsing with cold flame. Elder Mu fell back in shock. "The Fallen Star Lotus. It exists." Whispers rose like waves. "A cursed soul. No one. Ancient power." Jian Yun stood amidst the swirling energy, his eyes aglow with starlight. For the first time in his life, he felt whole. The days that followed were a storm. Word of the awakening spread fast, reaching the ears of sects, nobles, and shadowy factions beyond the valley. But within the Yun estate, opinions clashed. The clan patriarch, Yun Bei, summoned the elders. "The Fallen Star Lotus was sealed for a reason. We cannot allow this boy to remain." Elder Mu stepped forward. "He is the child of fate. Cast him out, and you risk dooming us all." But the council voted against him. That night, Jian Yun was called before the elders. He was told to leave. With a bowed head and a burning heart, he stepped beyond the gates of the only home he had known. Elder Mu met him at the edge of the forest, handing him a scroll, a pouch of coins, and an amulet bearing the crest of a distant academy. "They will train you and protect you." Jian Yun nodded. "I will become strong. I will master this soul." He walked into the dawn, the lotus mark glowing faintly beneath his robe. The world of soul masters awaited. Chapter 2. Skycloud Academy. The journey to Skycloud Academy took 5 days on foot and 1 by spirit ferry. Jian Yun passed through mist-trapped valleys, mountain ridges etched with ancient carvings, and forests that pulsed with spiritual energy. Though weary, he pressed on each step a promise to himself, to Elder Mu, and to the strange, powerful soul blooming within him. Skycloud was unlike anything he had imagined. A city in the clouds, quite literally, built atop a floating peak, tethered to the mountains by enchanted chains. Skycloud Academy soared above the mortal world. Golden towers pierced the skies, and flying beasts glided between soaring bridges. Disciples clad in bright robes trained atop floating platforms, while soul rings spun around them like hollows. At the main gate, he presented his amulet. The gate guardian, a stern woman with eyes like steel, examined it briefly before nodding. "Jian Yun, Class Ember, Dormitory 17. Reports at the Ember Hall at dawn." The days that followed were rigorous. Each class pushed him to the brink. Soul control, spirit meditation, combat forms, and elemental harmonization. But Jian Yun excelled, drawing both admiration and unease from fellow students. His Fallen Star Lotus manifested during sparring, and its cold fire turned training grounds to glass. Lu Yan, the class's self-proclaimed leader, challenged him often. So did Mei Qing, a fierce Salacha with sharp eyes and sharper arrows, but none could break his resolve. He often dreamt of Elder Mu, of the Yun clan, of the cold starlight within him. One night, Elder Fei, a teacher of the soul arts, summoned him privately. "Your martial soul is unique. It is both bloom and blade. You must learn to control it before it consumes you." Jian Yun nodded. "Teach me." And so began his real training, not in open fields, but deep beneath Skycloud, in the sealed chamber known as the Soul Crucible. There, fire met ice, shadow met light, and petals of the lotus unfurled, one by one. Each trial carved him anew. Each challenge whispered truths of the soul. By the end of the month, Jian Yun stood taller not just in stature, but in spirit. The world was changing, and in its heart, a boy with a lotus soul had begun to bloom. Chapter 3. The Whispering Grove night at Skycloud Academy was anything but silent. Wind swept the mountain ridges, and soul beasts howled faintly from distant valleys below. But it was within this quiet that Jian Yun found himself most alert, most awake. After the victory at the entry trials, he had earned the respect of many but also the envy of more. Whispers followed him in the halls. That's the Lotus Boy. Too dangerous, too mysterious. Even in Class Ember, things had changed. Luyan was more competitive. Milian was distant. One morning, Elder Fei handed Jian Yun a sealed letter. A private assignment, the elder said. The Grove of Echoing Spirits. You'll go alone. Jian Yun blinked. Alone. It's tradition. Each year, one new disciple is sent to the grove to face their soul. You're ready. That evening he left with only a map and his lotus pendant. The grove was a half-day's journey beyond the protective wards of the academy, dangerous and uncharted. When he arrived, he immediately sensed it. A deep hum. In the trees, like whispers layered beneath wind. The grove was alive. He stepped beneath its canopy. Petals drifted from unseen branches. The air was thick with soul as, "Why do you walk this path, child of the lotus?" Jian Yun turned. A figure formed from starlight and shadow stood before him. It looked like himself. Older. I seek strength. Purpose. You seek vengeance, the echo said. A duel of the soul began not with fists or fire, but memory and pain. Visions of the Yun clan's betrayal. The loneliness of exile. The warmth of Elder Mu's final gift. The joy of blooming power. And the fear it might consume him. Hours passed. Perhaps days. Time was strange within the grove. But Jian Yun endured. In the grove's heart, he sat cross-legged beneath an ancient tree. There, the Fallen Star Lotus bloomed once more this time. Willingly, its petals glowed brighter. His soul ring shimmered with new clarity. A voice echoed in his mind. One petal has opened. 9 await. When he returned to Skycloud, he was changed. Stronger, quieter, wiser. And the whispers, they grew louder. In the hidden corners of the continent, others had begun to move. The lotus was blooming and the world was watching. Chapter 4. Embers and Shadows. Skycloud Academy was abuzz with talk of Jian Yun's return from the Whispering Grove. No first year had emerged so composed. No one expected the cold radiance in his eyes or the quiet gravity in his step. In the dining hall, students whispered. In the sparring grounds, they watched. Even the instructors kept a closer eye on him now. 3 petals already. Someone whispered. No, just one, but the pressure he emits is terrifying. Jian Yun ignored it all. His focus sharpened. The lotus within him pulsed with restrained energy, waiting to be honed. He returned to the soul crucible every evening, pushing himself through intense training, mastering cold flame techniques, learning the dance of soul formations. It was during one of these nights that Elder Fei approached him. Your power is growing quickly, but strength attracts shadow. There are eyes on you now, some curious, some envious. I understand, Jian Yun said. Let them come. The elder frowned. Do not be arrogant. Darkness doesn't always announce itself. He was right. The next day, during an elemental sparring session, Lu Yan challenged him again. But something was different. Lu's fire strikes were fiercer, darker, laced with energy that didn't belong to standard techniques. Jian Yun parried, but as the clash intensified, the air distorted. A sharp pain ripped through his arm. Blood sprayed. Lu smirked. Looks like the lotus has its flaws. The instructors rushed in, ending the match. Jian Yun stood, clutching his arm, eyes narrow. That night, he found a symbol carved into his dormitory door, a coiling snake devouring a lotus blossom. A warning, or a threat. The next day, he was summoned by the academy headmaster. Jian Yun, the old man said, eyes like steel and starlight. Your presence here has stirred the sleep in. Your power draws not only rivals, but enemies from ancient paths. You must learn not just to fight but to survive. He handed Jian Yun a small, sealed scroll. Beyond the academy lies the broken veil. Bring back the silver iris that grows at its heart. If you return, you will be recognized, not just as student but disciple. Jian Yun accepted, and so he walked once more into the unknown. the cold lotus pulsing within. This time, danger was not within but waiting ahead. Chapter 5. The Broken Veil Trial. The wind howled as Jian Yun descended into the Broken Veil. Unlike the lush forests or sacred groves he had seen before, the veil was a scar on the land, a jagged ravine, split open by ancient forces. Crimson fog hugged the jagged rocks, and twisted trees bent as though in pain. This was no simple test. This was survival. Clutching the scroll given by the headmaster, Jian Yun read the brief instruction again. Find the silver iris. It blooms only under moonlight in the heart of the veil. Return before dawn. With only hours to spare, he pressed onward. Soul beasts stirred in the shadows. A pack of ember wolves stalked his trail, their eyes glowing like coals. Jian Yun lured them into a narrow pass, igniting a lotus flame barrier. The cold fire consumed the space, the wolves yelping as they vanished into smoke. He pressed on, deeper into the twisting ravines. Each step seemed to sap warmth from his bones. The Fallen Star Lotus within flickered uncertainly. Midway through, he stumbled upon a shrine, collapsed stone pillars, old sigils, half buried in moss. There, a figure waited, a woman, robed in black, her face masked. "You are the Lotus Boy," she said. Jian Yun didn't answer. She struck without warning. Shadows leapt from her sleeve, snakes of soul force, barbed with dark key. Jian Yun rolled aside, igniting a cold flame shield. "Who are you?" he demanded. A memory. Their battle lit the veil in flickers of light and dark. The woman moved like smoke, her strikes testing not just his skill but his will. "Why do you seek strength?" she asked, mid-strike. "For those who believed in me," he gasped. "For what was taken," she smiled beneath the mask. "Then take this truth." With one final strike, she vanished, living behind a silver blossom that hovered mid-air, the silver iris. Jian Yun fell to his knees, breathless. The lotus within him flared bright, and another petal opened. He returned to Skycloud by dawn, the iris in hand. The headmaster smiled faintly, then let the real path begin. For Jian Yun, the trial was not over. It had only just begun. Chapter 6. Tides of rivalry returning from the Broken Veil. Jian Yun felt the shift immediately. The campus of Skycloud buzzed with tension, not envy, but wariness. Whispers clung to walls like shadows. 3 petals now. Or is it 4? His aura is not that of a first year anymore. More alarming than gossip were the stares from senior disciples. Not just curious, they measured him, studied his gait, his soul's signature. As if predicting where to strike, the headmaster's declaration was clear. Jian Yun was now a formal disciple of Skycloud, no longer bound by the novice restrictions of Class Ember. New dangers. His new dormitory overlooked the valley. Cliffs isolated, quiet. And from that perch, he trained relentlessly, mastering the 3rd technique of the Lotus Starfire Veil, a defense that flickered like constellations. But peace was short-lived. The first challenge came 3 days later, not from Lu Yen, but from Mei Lian. She appeared at his training field, bow in hand, her eyes narrowed. "You're not the only one rising." And she fired, not to kill, but to test. Their battle was swift and fierce, battled flame against soul-light arrows. By the end, both stood, exhausted, but smiling. "Next time," she said, "I won't hold back." He bowed. "Nor will I." But as he watched her leave, Jian Yun sensed the deeper tension building, not just in rivalries, but in the very winds of fate. Chapter 7. The Crimson Banquet. The air in Skycloud Academy shimmered with unease. Rumors had spread like wildfire since Jian Yun's return from the Broken Veil. The Silver Iris trial was one of legend, meant to test body, mind, and soul. Only a handful of disciples had succeeded in the past decade, and none at his age. By now, Jian Yun had mastered the 3rd petal of the Fallen Star Lotus, but each bloom brought not just power, but pressure. The halls echoed with whispers. Is he chosen by fate, or cursed by it? Whispers turned into invitations. One, gilded and perfumed, came from the inner sanctum itself, the heart of the academy, where noble scions and prodigies mingled behind closed marble doors. "You are cordially invited to the Crimson Banquet," it read, hosted by Lady Zhu Ying of the Azure Pavilion. Jian Yun had heard of her, an elite disciple, renowned for her ice arts and veiled schemes. She rarely involved herself in academy politics, unless she saw opportunity. That night, he dressed simply and arrived at the marble gates of the Azure Pavilion. The hall beyond glittered with jade chandeliers and spirit lanterns. Music drifted like mist, and laughter bubbled beneath it. Too bright, too sharp. Dozens of elite disciples filled the room, each powerful, poised, and watching. Lady Zhu Ying greeted him herself. Clad in icy silks, her long hair shimmered like frost, her eyes silver as a frozen lake. Her praised Jian Yun coolly. "You honor us with your presence, Lotus." "I was curious," Jian Yun said, bowing. She smiled. "Curiosity is the beginning of wisdom or ruin." The banquet unfolded like a dance of veiled threats. Platters of delicacies, enchanted with soul herbs, floated by. Wine sparkled with starlight, and every conversation around Jian Yun was edged with challenge. One by one, the disciples introduced themselves, not just names, but legacies. "You may have heard of my clan," said Lin Su, descendant of a legendary soul. "We controlled the northern flame vault." "I heard a dual soul ring," boasted Yin Fei, a martial poet whose sword struck with song. Jian Yun responded with politeness but little interest. Lady Zhu Ying finally spoke. "You've stirred a storm, Jian Yun." "I did not come to stir anything," he said quietly, "only to grow. And yet, the wind follows you." As the night deepened, a servant stepped forward, bearing a glass box. Inside, a lotus blossom carved from crimson soulstone gleamed. "A gift," Zhu Ying said. "Rare, dangerous, beautiful, like you." Jian Yun's eyes narrowed. "Is it meant to flatter or bind?" Her smile held. "A little of both." Suddenly, a tremor shook the hall. The lanterns flickered. From the shadows beyond the courtyard, a figure stepped forth cloaked in black, aura twisted and sharp. A Hogi cultivator, one of the exiled flame sect. "Jian Yun," the figure called. "Face me!" The hall erupted. Disciples stepped back, and guards surged forward. But Jian Yun raised a hand. He stepped onto the marble floor, lotus blooming around him in a pulse of cold flame. The duel was swift, brutal, beautiful. Flame. The rogue struck with wild fury, blades of burning wind, but Jian Yun moved like water through starlight. Petals of the Fallen Star Lotus unfolded mid a slicing. With a final strike falling star, Jian Yun ended it. The rogue collapsed. His soul ring shattered. Silence fell. Lady Zhu Ying rose. Her voice was soft, but it carried. "The lotus does more than bloom." Jian Yun turned without ceremony and left the banquet behind. That night, alone on his cliffside dormitory, he stared at the crimson soulstone lotus, still glowing faintly in its box. A gift, a message, a warning. He placed it beside his training mat. Outside, the wind whispered, carrying news beyond the walls of for far beyond the academy, in the heart of the continent. Powers stirred, forgotten sects, banished souls, and among them, a shadowed figure opened a scroll bearing Jian Yun's name. The lotus had bloomed, and the world would burn. Chapter 8. The fire within. The next morning, Jian Yun woke early, the box with the crimson soulstone lotus still glowing faintly in the pre-dawn light. He wrapped it in cloth and tucked it into a sealed drawer. Its presence lingered like a shadow. Skycloud buzzed with gossip. The duel had sent tremors through the academy's rigid hierarchy. Elders murmured in corners. Disciples watched him with new fear, and invitations flowed in like waves. Yet Jian Yun attended none. Instead, he climbed the Cloudfire Stair, a steep ascent to the secluded flame pavilion where only the most advanced disciples trained. Wordlessly, he approached the gates. A massive spirit beast, half lion and half phoenix, barred the path. "Why do you seek the flame pavilion?" it growled, its voice like crackling embers, to temper the fire within. The beast stared at him for a long moment, then stepped aside. Inside the pavilion, the heat was overwhelming. Fires roared in suspended crucibles, blades floated midair, forged from pure soul. At the center stood a man cloaked in crimson, Master Huo Chun, known as the Flame Tyrant. "You seek strength," Huo Chun said, eyes like molten gold, "but strength burns those who wield it unwisely." Jian Yun met his gaze. "Then teach me to burn wisely." The days that followed were agony. The flame trials tested body and soul. Walking barefoot across coals that seared through spiritual defenses, meditating within a volcano's caldera, resisting the soul inferno on, illusion of burning one's deepest regrets. Jian Yun, each challenge awakened more petals of the Fallen Star Lotus. Cold flame met true fire, and somewhere between pain and peace, he found a rhythm. One night, he collapsed in the training chamber, drenched in sweat. Huo Chun knelt beside him. "Why endure such torment?" Because my enemies won't show mercy. The master smiled. In your heart, it still beats with hope. Jian Yun thought of Elder Mu, the Yun clan, and the warmth of a fire that did not consume. Yes, even if it's faint. The next dawn, he stood at the summit, the lotus in his soul glowing with 6 full petals. Huo Chun handed him a crimson blade, forged from his own aura. You have earned the flame brand, but remember, Jian Yun revenge is a fire. Let it guide, not consume. Below, the academy stirred. A new storm brewed beyond its walls. Jian Yun descended, blade at his side, the fire within tempered, not quenched. And far away, the shadowed figure who opened the scroll in the previous chapter. He smiled. So the lotus chooses war. Good. Let the heavens tremble. Chapter 9. Gloom in the storm. The sky over Skycloud Academy had darkened, not with rain but with foreboding. Ominous clouds circled the floating mountain like vultures, charged with crackling spiritual energy. The elders convened in the high chamber, their faces carved from stone. War was no longer rumor, it had arrived at the gates. Reports flowed in. Sect outposts destroyed, supply lines severed, disciples missing. And always, the same insignia scorched into the ruins, the mark of the Ashmoon sect. Clad in new robes black threaded with crimson flame, the symbol of the Fallen Star Lotus glowing faintly at the chest. His blade, Flamebrand, rested against his back. The 6th petal in his soul bloomed like a beating heart. Do you know what you face? Asked Grand Elder Yuan, his voice heavy. Yes, Jian Yun answered, and I will face it alone. The room erupted in protest, but Elder Fei raised a hand. He's not alone, she said. He carries the fire of our future. Jian Yun bowed deeply, then turned and left. At the gates, a surprise waited Mei, Lian and Lu Yan. You're not going without us, Mei Lian said, stringing her soul bow. Don't be stupid, Lu Yan muttered. We're not friends, but I'm not letting you hog the glory. They rode the wind serpent south, toward the Ashmoon stronghold, place once holy, now desecrated. The battle began at dawn. Waves of ash-cloaked cultivators surged like a tide. Jian Yun met them, head-on petals of the lotus flaring with each strike. Cold flames scorched the battlefield. Mei's arrows struck like divine thunder. Lu Yan danced through enemies like a living tempest. But the enemy was ready. At the heart of the storm stood the figure who had watched from the shadows, Lord Xuan Mo, the exiled flame, and traitor to So you are the lotus, Xuan Mo sneered. I burned your clan to ash. I'll do the same to you. You burned the leaves, Jian Yun replied, stepping forward, but not the root. Their clash cracked the sky. Xuan Mo wielded chaos flame wild, devouring. Jian Yun countered with lotus fire precise, evolving. For hours, they dueled across the skies. Spirit beasts fled. The wind itself screamed. In a final clash, Jian Yun unleashed all 7 petals. The lotus bloomed fully, its heart a star of radiant cold. Falling star descent. The strike pierced Xuan Mo's flame, his defenses, and his heart. He fell, burning, whispering. The heavens were wrong. Silence followed. The army scattered. The sky cleared. Jian Yun collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Mei and Lu ran to him, bruised but alive. The lotus in his soul pulsed once more, then dimmed. He had won, but his journey had only begun. High above, in the celestial realms, a new scroll unfurled. The lotus has bloomed, it read. Prepare the next trial. And far away, in the ruins of an ancient sect, something stirred beneath the earth. Something older than war, older than vengeance. Something. Epilogue. Embers of destiny. Months passed since the Ashmoon sect's defeat, yet the echoes of battle still haunted Skycloud Academy. The ruins of fallen sects were slowly reclaimed by time, but scars both physical and spiritual. Jian Yun, now hailed as the Flame Lotus disciple, spent his days in solitude, refining techniques and guiding new disciples. His fame had grown across the continent, yet he walked the halls like a shadow, always watching. The 7-petal lotus in his soul had dimmed, no longer burning bright but pulsing gently with a deeper force. It was evolving still. One morning, a letter arrived sealed in golden wax, marked with an emblem none had seen for 1,000 years. The Celestial Tribunal. It summoned him to the immortal plane. Jian Yun stood at the Academy's summit, wind stirring his robes. Mei Lian and Lu Yan stood beside him, wordless but resolute. I once fought for vengeance, Jian Yun murmured. Now I fight for something greater. He stepped into the sky as the lotus flared once more brighter, colder, wiser. Beyond the clouds, a new path awaited, not of revenge, but of destiny. And far above, in the scroll halls of the heavens, his name was etched into fate. Jian Yun, bearer of the lotus flame. The next legend had begun.